Hello and welcome to week 10 in psychology seminar, and we're going to be going into chapter 7, arithmetic or statistics. However, I want to talk a little bit about the assignment from chapter 6. Chapter 6 is all about APA style, about being detail oriented. This is an opportunity for you to practice the skills that will be asked of you for the rest of your program here. And in almost all the programs here at KV and beyond require individuals to be adept at the APA style. This means that you don't wing it. I went through these papers, and for one, some of you need to submit this. Take this seriously, please. And secondly, it was clear to me that you were not using the APA resource manual because what you were doing was not anywhere close to APA. So you need to avail yourself of the APA guide that's a required book in this class, and or go to the OWL website, learn about the APA style, and apply this. At this point, everybody has a 0, and it's going to remain at 0 until it's perfect. So this particular assignment, you're just going to keep doing it until you get a 100. Those are the two choices of grades. If you don't do it at all, or you just leave it the way it is right now, that's a 0 on this one assignment. That's your choice. But this really is an opportunity to fine-tune the kinds of skills that I'm going to be looking for in other, and your other professors are going to be looking for in their classes as well. Get this format down, so at least most of that, primarily the title page, in-text citations, and the references. Keeping in mind, too, that this paper is a compare-contrast paper between two articles. It's not a summary of those articles. It's not a research paper with two resources. Keep in mind the definition of this assignment is to compare and contrast those two sources. You're providing information from those sources, but only in the context of comparing them. And you don't compare them on insubstantial things like, well, this one had color pictures in it, well, that actually might be having photos in it and stuff like that might actually be an important characteristic of some articles. But the color of paper or the kind of font that they use, or those kind of things, we're assuming that those are going to be different. Look at the content, look at the professionalism of the words. Think about the audience, think about the level of language between these two, the differences between these two articles, the actual comparisons that you make in this particular paper should almost be the same for all of you. You're comparing a peer-reviewed article with a newspaper, and those differences, no matter what those topics are going to be consistent across all the papers. So the papers actually should look very similar to each other. So, okay, so that's chapter 6. Chapter 7, note this, I have made major revisions to the chapter 7 chapter, so the one in the course book is no longer valid. I have a link in the timeline for the new chapter 7. Make sure you use that version of this particular chapter. This is the only one that has that. The discussion is about the current sort of populist movement of distrust in science, and how does that compare to a healthy skepticism that is a part of science? And there's a difference between there's the shunning of science because it's all fake or whatever, but then there's a realistic aspect of science where we are skeptical about findings ourselves. And so a discussion about those two ways of thinking that seem to be dominating our country right now. And then for the assignment, I'm actually having you take a stab at doing some statistics. It's a correlation on using Excel, which is what you're going to be using when you take research methods and statistics. So you need the computer-based version of Excel, not the web one, not the one on the web. You're going to be using the one that you download. You have free access to that with your KVCC ID, and you will be using tools that are built in to Excel to do this, and you'll be conducting a analysis of heart rate versus scores on a performance test, and you're going to be determining the relationship between those two variables. Nothing different in this than you would if you were actually doing a study. So an important skill to learn. You will be submitting to me the Excel file, not a PDF. It's got to be an Excel file, and I have naming conventions that I go over in the course, in the chapter, about how you name the file, how the actual file is named, so that it goes into Brightspace, and then I download them all, and I'm still able to see who's, that comes in as a big folder full of files, and I'm still able to determine which one is yours, hence the naming convention. And that naming convention would be the same thing that you see when you take statistics. And finally, we have Chapter 9 in our esteemed Pinker book. Our special assignment Part 3 discussion looks at inequality and fairness and our understanding of those terms from the point of view that Pinker's coming from here. So you're going to be talking about inequality, fairness, perceptions of status, and he mentions this thing about the golden rule, the golden years, yesteryear, and how nice it was, and the reason why we have a sense of that is because we don't remember the past very well. We tend to fill it in. There's actually a really good psychological process that goes on when we fill in the past and we decide to think very, very, very effectively decide to think of the things that are positive. Some people think about the negative things, get focused on that, but most of us will think just about the positive things and we forget the bad things that were going on. Or maybe even then we weren't even aware. We weren't even aware of them, simply because the media was not as effective at getting news out to us as it was today. So kind of a busy week. Here you have the Chapter 6 assignment that each one of you needs to revise. You have the Chapter 7 discussion, and then the Chapter 7 assignment using Excel, and then you have our special assignment, Part 3 discussion. So a big week, and so welcome back to school. You had a break. Hopefully you got a break. Hopefully you got some time off. Hopefully you're enjoying the change in our weather that's coming around. Really exciting about that. We're in week 10. We are 2/3 of the way through our course here. So keep that in mind, how exciting that can be. And I will see you online in the discussions, and have a great week.